Okay, I'm gonna do one more Proverbs and just do some kind of normal podcast, I guess. It's warm in here. So Proverbs 11. I'm just trying to get my hours in. Okay. Dishonest scales are detestable to the Lord, but accurate weight is his delight. So this is about trade. A lot of people had dishonest scales where, how much is it for the spices? Oh, well, it's going to be, you know, 1 gram of gold per 1 gram of spice. I don't know. But they would have scales that would make things look heavier, so you'd have to pay more. Or, if you weren't looking, they'd put their thumb on the scale or pull it down so that way you'd pay more. So that's dishonest. That's dishonest marketing. So he's saying when you work in business, be honorable. When arrogance comes, disgrace follows, but with humility comes wisdom. So you need to be careful about being arrogant, because if people discover that you're dishonest in trade, no one's going to trade with you. And that'll be a problem for your future and your kids and your family and your legacy. But with humility comes wisdom. So it's good to be humble. It's good to be able to listen to people and change your mind and, take the temperature of what's going on. The integrity of the upright guides them, but the perversity of the treacherous destroys them. So having integrity helps those around you have integrity. Like, hey, look how much Josh is accomplishing. I want to be like that. I want to move like that. I've helped people get off of drugs. I've helped people get off of alcohol just because they saw how my life moved. They saw how I could handle stressful situations, how I could get out of bad situations, how my life was protected by the choices I made. Wealth is not profitable on a day of wrath, but righteousness rescues from death. So this happens too. When I was a bouncer, people would have bad days and they're drinking and they'd come and thug up on me. They'd try to, start fights. And it's like, hey man, like, relax. I love you. Like, let's not do this. And because people knew me and people saw how I acted, they'd say, all right, Josh, I'm sorry. Josh. One time I had this, oh man, this guy, he was like super thug, just like tattoos head to foot, and just super buff. And I'm a bouncer for the back door, and he comes up and he just tries to walk right past me. I'm like, I said, hey man, can I see your ID? And he goes, F you. And I'm like, okay, he's been drinking and he wants to start a fight, so I have to be careful. And I go, oh, come on, man, please, like, it's the one job I got. And he goes, F you. And I go, please, and I make the little heart with my hands, like with cream and sugar and a cherry on top. Like, I don't want to chase you down there, man. Then I gotta call the cops, and the cops are gonna say, what's going on? And I'll say, I don't know. And like, all you had to do was just show me your ID, and then I could have just let you go on in, and we could all had a good time. He's like, man, are you messing with me? I was like, no, I just want to see your ID, man. The only thing that got me doing out here. He goes, all right. And then he actually came out and brought me a couple bucks and chatted with me a little bit. And he's like, you're cool, man. You're cool. And I was like, thanks, buddy. And so just because I was like that, I avoided a fight. I avoided the cops. I avoided things that could go wrong. Because people forget about the things that go wrong. If you get into a fight and someone falls and hits their head and they die, like, you're going to go to jail for homicide. So it's good to be smart. It's good to be wise. It pays off because you want your time. Your time can make wealth. Your time can make memories. Your time can do stuff. And when you get in trouble with the law, that takes away your time. The love that you could show other people. It makes sense on why a lot of people think it's cool to be gangster, or you want to be gangster, because that's an elevated social role. people look up to you. But if you can be wise, that's an even higher social role that isn't inherently evident at first. Like, to be wise, to be good, to be humble, to have integrity, to have righteousness, it doesn't seem important or interesting until people spend a little bit with you. And then they're saying, man, like, Josh is never in trouble. Like, Josh is always doing cool stuff. A lot of people spend their money drinking a lot, and I'll spend my money doing photography, painting pictures. And then, wow, look at Josh. He's spending time with beautiful women. He's creating beautiful works of art. He's making money on them. This is something that can be accomplished. My friend, he lives a good life, and he spends his time racing cars and going to car meets and spending time around people who have very expensive, attractive cars. And now he's living a good life. He's a mechanic making great money, working on, I think he has like 3 BMWs and that he bought himself. And he's got a beautiful, wonderful fiance who's just a sweetheart. The integrity of the upright guides them, but the perversity of the treacherous destroys them. So you have to be careful on where the people that coming into your life are, and where they're going, and where they're trying to pull you into. Wealth is not profitable on the day of wrath, but righteousness rescues from death. I think I read that one already. So righteousness is when I stop people from drinking and driving. That rescues. You could die. You could kill someone else. You could end up in jail. You could end up losing your license, which means you'd lose your job. And so this is where righteousness matters. I'll tell people, like, hey, where are you going? Did you do your homework? Do you need help doing your homework? Do you need help making a plan? And it's by being righteous that I'm able to help all these other people. The righteous of the blameless clears his path, but the wicked person will fall because of his wickedness. So because we act righteous, because we live and have a righteous character, we clear our lives out of things that are not righteous. So, when I'm in a long-term relationship and another woman comes up and says she's okay with, being a side chick or having an affair or having a secret relationship, I'll say no. I'll say no. I'm committed to the person I'm with. And I told that to the girl I was dating. I said, you like to date a lot of men, but when you're dating me, I want to be the only man you're dating. And you can date other people, but tell me and we'll break up. Because I don't share. You're either having a relationship with me or we're not. I'm not going to tell you can't date other men, but if you do, I don't want to date you. And she said, okay. And this is a way that, like, problems with that lifestyle of being a playboy never bother me. I don't have those kind of problems because of how I straighten out my path and clean problems before they're even a problem. But the wicked person will fail because of his wickedness. So wickedness is always a problem, and it puts further problems in front of you. Whether it be crime or cheating or, if you're partying too much and you're neglecting your children or your wife, that's going to turn into problems later. The righteousness of the upright rescues them, but the treacherous are trapped by their own desires. So he's constantly, it's like a deck of playing cards, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic the Gathering. But they're for life. And he's saying righteousness does this, righteousness does that, righteousness does this, righteousness does that. And how all of these problems are solved because of righteousness, because of integrity, which are rooted in wisdom. Treacherous are trapped by their own desires, so there's no self-control. you kind of let yourself do whatever you want, and then you get trapped by that. If you spend your time being an alcoholic, you're going to lose time with your kids. You're going to lose time with other things that might matter to you, other adventures that you wanted to do, other dreams that you had. When the wicked person dies, his expectation comes to nothing, and hope placed in wealth vanishes. So these things you hope for, these expectations you had in life, don't come to fruition because you didn't spend time with them, because your time got eaten up with wickedness that destroyed your life and took your time. So you don't have time to work on your dreams and watch your dreams come to fruition. I haven't painted a lot of paintings, but I had only been doing paintings for a year, and all these girls in my classes had been doing paintings for 10 to 12 years because they were getting their master's degree in it. And within a year, I think I was in my very first painting class even. I'd done 1 year of art. It was my first painting class. I made $500, and all these girls were just stunned. You, like one of them screamed, "You made $500?" You know, because I was really fat and I was disheveled, and I was working 40 hours a weekend. I was going to school, and I was like always tired. You, yeah. How did you make $500? Well, I think about what's going to sell, and then who I know who has money, and then I try to make things that they might buy or their friends might buy, and then I talk to people. Isn't that what all you guys do? No, we're awkward. And I said, well, you better learn to talk, because the guy who's not an art major is out selling all the art majors. Yeah, and they never made fun of me again. It was like the best revenge ever. People will curse anyone who hoards grain, but a blessing will come to the one who sells it. So if you're just keeping all these riches for yourself and kind of blowing off other people, you're being kind of just having wealth so you can show it off. It's going to upset people because you're stalling out an economy. But a blessing will come to those who sell. But those who like integrate their wealth into the economy can kind of uplift the whole city or nation or society. The one who searches for what is good seeks favor, but if someone looks for trouble, it will come to him. So if you're looking for what's good, you're looking for opportunity, you're looking for riches, you're looking for things that can be cultivated into further riches. So now we're seeing the further progress of wisdom. We've gone from wise, wisdom brings integrity and righteousness, and then living like that brings social blessings. So everyone's gonna be like, man, you know, you're doing so great. I want to be like you. But you can find trouble if you look for it. So the person that's just arrogant and idiotic, like, you don't want to be like that. You don't want to turn towards things that are going to cause your own destruction. I knew this girl when I worked at this movie theater in Tyler, Texas. And I said, hey, how you doing today? And she's like, why are you asking? I'm like, oh man, you're a piece of work. Wow. I was like, I'm just trying to be friendly. Like, how's the job? You doing okay? Like, do you live around here? You have an easy time getting to work? I personally walk to work. And she goes, why, are you a narc? I'm like, oh my God. Okay. No, I'm just trying to have good conversation. Like, doing anything fun lately? Dating anyone cool? Yeah, you're a narc, aren't you? I went to my boss. I'm like, dude, she's not going to last. Like, she is hostile. And she didn't, because she was hostile. She can never leave that mentality. That's one thing we learned in psychology classes. You need to be careful, because when you do drugs, it rewrites your facial recognition software. So you'll see people and you'll think they hate you when they're just being people. Anyone trusting in his riches will fall, but the righteous will flourish like foliage. So the Bible does say that having wealth is like living in a castle, because wealth does protect you from a lot of tragedy. But if you're pridefully trusting in your money to protect you, you have to remember the ultimate protection in the life is God. The righteous will flourish like foliage. So in the same way that plants grow up and like the leaves look at the sun and eat sunlight, and then a lot of mammals, a lot of herbivore mammals will eat the foliage or eat the plants, and then we eat the animals. We flourish in the same way. So we, like the plants, will spring up, be creative, and creatively be productive. But anyone who's just like, oh, my money will solve all my problems or protect me forever, no. So again, it's saying don't be foolish, but by being righteous, you're going to be smart. By being righteous, people will bless you. By being righteous, you'll save people from death. By being righteous, problems will get out of your way before you're even there. By being fool, by being evil, stupid, by being directly antagonistic towards life, you're going to find trouble. You're going to fail. You're going to trip over your own feet. You're going to ruin your life. You're going to lose time. Nothing's going to happen right. So it's the same thing over and over again. Righteousness, wisdom, integrity, not foolishness, not treachery, not trickery, not crime. The one who brings ruin on his household will inherit the wind, so nothing. And a fool will be a slave to someone whose heart is wise. So what happened during different parts of the Bible? A lot of people say that the Bible is pro-slavery. It's not. What would happen is, let's say you got into really far debt. Instead of going to jail, you could be a servant. And so the money you get as being a servant would pay off your debts. And then every 8th year, all servants go free. And that doesn't mean you were a servant for 8 years. It means on the 8th year. So if you became a servant on, let's say, 2025, right? 2025 right now. And the year of freedom, they called it the year of Jubilee, was 2030. That means you'd be a servant for 5 years. If you paid everything off, great. If you didn't, you could become a servant again, but for no more than 8 years. You could be a servant for less, but no more than 8 years. So it enforced freedom. Yeah, so the person who is wise is going to have money, and then he's going to help you become a servant and then get you out of debt. But now he's getting you to zero. The fruit, so the productivity of the righteous is a tree of life. So the tree of life, right, that's supposed to bring immortality in the Garden of Eden, we see its symbolism come throughout the Bible. So Jesus is the tree of life, right? When you believe in Jesus, you get possessed by the Holy Spirit, which is God's Holy Spirit, and that gives you permission to enter heaven, so you don't die. After you die, when your body dies, your soul gets taken to heaven. And so it's saying it's similar. Being righteous, living off of wisdom, this core element, this core mathematics into how the universe was created, brings about all good things. And it's so good, it's like the tree of life itself. Everything you do will be productive, will be miraculous, will be amazing to everyone who comes around you and socializes with you. But a cunning person takes lives. So cunning isn't bad in and of itself. The Bible does say, be cunning like a serpent and gentle as a dove. And in Genesis, it says the snake was the most cunning of creatures. So the demon that tricks Adam and Eve came down in a cunning manner. So here it's saying cunning in a bad way. A cunning person takes lives. So the ultimate righteous person brings life and miracles and civilization and protection and wonderfulness to just every single thing about him as he progresses in such a way of living. But the person who chooses foolishness and mockery and death and wickedness, they're going to pull people down with them and take people with them. Here's a good story. there was a party. I heard about this when I was a bouncer. There was a party and everyone's drinking a lot. And I don't know how people didn't know this. I learned this at church when I was like 8. When you drink a lot, it relaxes your muscles. And so you have to be careful, because if you vomit and you start choking, you won't wake up because you've relaxed a lot of your body's systems that are designed to wake you up. And so when you're drinking, you actually need someone to like make sure you sleep on your side. So if you vomit, you don't choke and die. So another bouncer I knew took his friend home, made sure his friend got home safely, but he didn't put him on the side. He vomited during the night and died. And I'm just like, and it's further like why you have to be wise in all things. It's a really sad story. It's a real tragedy. If the righteous will be repaid on earth, how much more the wicked and sinful? So it's talking about the system here. So the system of righteousness, you're always going to get that more. Things are always going to multiply, and even exponentially multiply sometimes. But how much worse will it be? How much more the wicked and the sinful? So the sin in the Bible, this word is thrown around way too much. Sin means you understand God, you understand how he works, you understand his judgment. Sin is to turn away or to rebel or to dismiss, to work against what you know is righteous and true. That's where the Bible talks about sin. It's not, we kind of use it for this, we just hit everyone with it, and it's horrible. Sin is turning away from what you know to be righteous and true. That is the word of God. When you don't know God's rules, he has a lot of mercy. He says he withholds judgment from those who have never known him. So I don't want you to think God's this person that just breaks your skull. So the wicked and sinful. So people who understand God's wisdom and they turn away from it, it's going to be awful. And it's going to be so awful. And it's not fun giving up pleasure, but it is 10 to 100 times better reaping the results of righteousness. So the thing about pleasure, it's kind of like the dark side of the force. You can get there kind of quickly. What does Yoda say? Seductive. I should look that up. Give me a second. Okay, that took me a minute. Is the dark side stronger? No. Quicker, easier, more seductive. So I have to go back to, where was I? Taking pleasure or instant gratification. It makes sense when you're poor, when you're suffering. And that's the hardest part about getting out of poor, is you have to start doing what's right and what's righteous and profitable long term. And that means you're going to suffer short term. And so when you have nothing, you need to pray, because prayer is the only thing you can get from nothing. God's love, God's attention, his dependability. So turning down easy pleasure as a playboy for a great life with a wife and a family and a kid and kids. And people will tell me, like, why would you trade that? And I say, well, the things you look for in a wife are not the things you look for with a night of pleasure. When you look for a wife, you look for a companion, somebody who's intellectually stimulating, somebody who is a good mom, and the same thing with a dad, or a father or husband. You look for someone of long-term qualities, and what you look for in someone long-term is different. And so the relationship you're going to have with that person is going to be different. Anyway, I love you guys. I don't know that I'm going to do the fantasy voice with this one. Oh, I shouldn't I? Did I just do 9? Oh, no, I did 11. Okay, I did 11. Wait. Did I do this in the right order? Oh my God, I did it in the wrong order. I mean, I did it all. It was just, Okay, when the wicked person dies, his expectation comes from nothing, and hope placed in it is vanished. And then I jump to the end of the chapter. All right, start over. Dishonest scales are detestable to the Lord, but an accurate weight is his delight. When arrogance comes, disgrace follows, but with humility comes wisdom. The integrity of the upright guides them, but the perversity of the treacherous destroys them. Wealth is not profitable on a day of wrath, but righteousness rescues from death. The righteousness of the blameless clears his path, but the wicked person will fall because of wickedness. The righteousness of the upright rescues them, but the treacherous are trapped by their own desires. When the wicked person dies, his expectation comes to nothing, and hope placed in wealth vanishes. Then I'm supposed to go over here. Without guidance, a people will fall, but with many counselors, there is deliverance. So now we're talking about like the peak of civilization. So righteousness, this is what it does at peak levels of civilization. Counselors will keep your civilization running. They'll keep people wise. They'll keep people strong. They'll keep people away from evil. If someone puts up security for a stranger, he will suffer for it. But the ones who hates such agreements is protected. So this is about being shrewd. So it's the same way if like somebody you don't know comes up and says like, oh, hey man, I need to borrow like $5,000. You're like, no, I don't know you, and you seem sketchy. And then so if you insure that money and he runs away from it, you now have to pay. And so it's not wise to just put money up for strangers. It even says for your neighbors. As much as the Bible says like, take care of your neighbor, it doesn't say, it says specifically, that doesn't mean put up like money for their apartment or money for their house. There are limits because you could live on a different philosophy. In the Bible, when it's talking about neighbors, it's not talking about Jews and Jews, it's talking about Jews and the Samaritans. So it's a different group of people. So be wise and smart with lending your money out, and don't lend it out to someone who's an idiot, is what the Bible's saying. Don't lend it out to someone who doesn't respect money, who doesn't respect wisdom, who isn't smart, who is wicked, or who is a fool. It's saying all these things. The one who hates such agreements, right? So the person who's going, no, absolutely not. I'm not just sending my money out there for just any single person who wants to take out a loan. A gracious woman gains honor, but violent people gain only riches. I feel like there's some secret messages here. Let me look it up. Okay, so what it's saying is when you're gracious, right, when you're forgiving, when you have good decorum in public, you can gain honor and kind of everything. You already have everything else, and now you can also gain honor in the kingdom you live, in the social circles you move in the society, in the business spheres. But violent people only gain riches. But for the thugs that are just like focused without wisdom, without righteousness, without integrity, without valor, they might get money, but they're not going to get these upper level qualities that the upper echelons of society have to offer and can be gained. If you want to be like the master of riches and the master of, social standing and righteous before God, you need wisdom, you need righteousness, you want honor, because then you can really master it all and help everyone. A kind man benefits himself, but a cruel man brings ruin on himself. So just by showing people kindness, there are benefits to have. So at work, I work at a place where a lot of people get really mean and angry, but I'm always kind. And because of that, like, I can get the good jobs quicker than everyone else because people know that, like, I'm kind and I don't get angry and I'm dependable. But the cruel people, so the people who, like, are lazy, they don't get the good jobs. They don't get the jobs that I like to do because they're not dependable, because they're quick to fight, quick to get violent. And so when you're cruel, you're not also, it's important to know that when you're cruel, you're also not taking care of yourself. If you want the dreams and the riches and the best things in life, you need to learn to sacrifice the pain of poverty for the promise of reward. And the hard part of the promise of reward is you have to work with God. You have to work in the way he wants you to operate because he built the moral center of the universe. And the morality of the universe plays a part in the physical realm and riches of the universe. And it's not fun at first until it is, until your friend groups start changing and you start seeing what, like, good-hearted people have in their life, and everything kind of gets easier. So, like, when you're wise and you stop doing drugs, it gets easier to sleep. It gets your biology gets better. You start hanging out with people that think long term, and then those people are going to have money, and so they'll, like, invite you over and kind of help feed you, or they've got your back when you're poor. And then you'll start meeting just communities of people, and, like, suddenly someone's got a car for sale and they're going to sell it to you for, like, a couple grand. Now you got a nice car to get yourself to work, and then you can start making your way up in promotions. Like, I met these girls at work, good-hearted girls, fast thinkers. I helped teach them to be a manager. 3 months into their job, they were promoted, and now they're making, like, $28 an hour, just no college degree. A wicked person earns an empty wage, but the one who sows righteousness a true reward. So when you're wicked, you can't get the great jobs because your past kind of follows you. And if you have that problem, you can pray and God will fix your past and help you go forward. There's a story of a guy who did quite a few years in jail for a felony, and he sat with a pastor and he was afraid he wasn't going to get a good job, and they prayed that God would erase this problem. And so when they did the background check, they couldn't find it. He had a felony, and the company said, well, we ran 3 background checks and I didn't see one, and you got this guy vouching for you, so I'll hire you. And he instantly got a job for like $25 an hour. And he liked welding too, so it really worked out for him. Genuine righteousness leads to life, but pursuing evil to death. So again, we're going back to the beginning, life and death. Righteousness leads to life, pursuing evil to death. Those with twisted minds are detestable to the Lord, but those with blameless conduct are his delight. So we're going even back before good and evil, like at its core, those who operate with integrity, even God's watching you and he's like, man, this is amazing. Look at what my kid's doing. And those with twisted mind, God's like, man, my son is causing me so much pain, and my daughter's causing me so much pain. I want them to have wonderful things. I want to take delight in what they're doing, but they're just twisted doing all these evil things. And then, did I miss another one? 26, 21, what? Oh my God, I missed another one. Can't believe I missed this part. Proverbs 11:21. Be assured that a wicked person will not go unpunished. So wickedness will catch up to you. So now we have like the facts and the weight and the payoff and what happens on the other end of the equation line. But the offspring of the righteous will escape. So because you're righteous, the hard things on life will not grip a hold of your kids. They won't have to go through a lot of hard times you went through. A beautiful woman who rejects good sense is like a gold ring in a pig's snout. So it's like, it's such a waste. It's such a waste. Why is that even there? Like, it's just worthless. Like, you're so beautiful, you got so much going for you, and you're just throwing it all away. I had that happen. I had a friend who, she wanted to become an exotic dancer, and then she was saying she also wished men weren't toxic in how they treated women. And I had to stop my friends and be like, guys, you can't be pro exotic dancing, because that's asking men to lust after you for money, and then be angry that men are treating you as an object. Like, you're asking men to treat you as an object, and then getting mad at them they're treating you as an object. And they both stood there and they were like, whoa. Just so that was one place with wisdom I got to keep my friend from going down that lifestyle. The desire of the righteous turns out well. So even our hopes and dreams are productive. But the hope of the wicked leads to wrath. Oh, okay. Now we're at the parts that I've read before. Oh no, we're not. We're still not. The desire, so even our little inklings of inspiration, the desire of the righteous turns out well. Yeah, things are going to go well. Things are going to travel up that and turn out just well. But the hope of the wicked leads to wrath, because you're enabling your own dark desires, and it's just not going to go well. And growing up in Hollywood, you would see that a lot. You'd see a lot of people who would just say, man, I was wrong. I was wrong. Like, church and family, don't listen to anybody who thinks that sex and alcohol and drugs is the way to go. It's not. And I was like, oh, yeah. And I tell people, because I've been asked, like, why don't you do, like, pills and drugs with us? And I'd say, okay, on most days, how happy are you? And I'm a 3 out of 10. And I'd say, I'm an 8 out of 10, and I can go to a 13 out of 10. And they're just like, whoa. I'll let you out in a second. I'm podcasting. Hang on. No, you wait. One person gives freely, yet gains more, and another withholds what is right, only to become poor. So when you live your life with righteousness and good and wisdom, like, everything pays out more. You're not wasting your money. You know, like here's a good piece of wisdom. A lot of my friends eat out all the time. I cook. I can cook great meals for like 10% the price. And so I have more money to spend on my bills and to go on vacation. So I have money to help my friends out when they need it. And then another withholds what is right. So another doesn't act on what is right and becomes poor. So the other person can't even give out what they're supposed to, and then they pay the consequences. So I have a lot to give, and they can't even give righteousness and goodness and kindness out, and they become poor still. So we're kind of seeing tragedy now. A generous person will be enriched. Okay, now we're in the final spots, right? Now we're caught back up. Nope, still not. Okay. A generous person will be enriched, and the one who gives a drink of water will receive water. So now it's talking about like kind of secret math. So a generous person will be enriched. So do you mind? Because I'm going to let you out, and then you're going to bark to come back in, and I'm not going to let you back in. You have to stay out for at least 5 minutes. She wants to go chase the squirrels. A generous person will be enriched. So even when you're giving things out, when you've lived your life of wisdom and righteousness, you receive as well. So even your generosity that is spending resources, you're getting resources. Because, people see that, people want to be close to you. Opportunities will come up. Relationships will forge where they're beneficial to each other. Okay, now am I back to where I started? Yes, people will curse anyone who hoards grain, but a blessing will come to the ones who sell it, the one who sells it. The one who searches for what is good seeks favor, but if someone looks for trouble, it will come to him. Anyone trusting in his riches will fall, but the righteous will flourish like foliage. The one who brings ruin on his household will inherit the wind, and a fool will be a slave to someone whose heart is wise. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, but a cunning person takes lives. If the righteous will be repaid on earth, how much more the wicked and the sinful? Is that it? Yes, that's it. Okay, I'm gonna go let the dog out. Love you guys.